Welcome to the Babblesnonsense podcast, where I'm your host, Jonna Grimes, and we're here to discuss any and all things, but especially the shit that I want to talk about. Because let's face it, I have a lot of shit to say, and after all, you are listening to my verbal diary. Let's get started. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Babblesnonsense podcast. I have my friend Lauren Keeton here in front of me, and she is now Rhyme and Reason, and we are going to dive into everything that she does. If y'all don't know Lauren, I've actually known her for a really long time. We grew up in Winchester together. She was a cheerleader that I looked up to, her and Cassie. So hello, Cassie, if you listen to this. So we're going to dive into this. So we were talking earlier about all the businesses and the creativity that you've done. Mm-hmm. And you initially started with photography.
Yes.
So now that's more of a personal thing that you said that you do.
100%, yes.
And then you blogged for a little bit, and that's kind of been put on pause.
Mm-hmm.
So currently, you are now a hairstylist,
yes,
and you are a life coach.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to dive into those things that you do and how people can reach you. Because as we were talking earlier, you actually were going to start a podcast when COVID hit.
Mm-hmm.
And that was more about your life coaching.
Yeah, and for fun.
Yeah, like just self-help, kind of
Yes.
like where to go to listen to positive mindset kind of thing.
Yes, and also to kind of get into the nitty-gritty of relationships and just all the shit.
So, for lack of better words.
Yeah.
So, we're going to start with your hairstylist
Mm-hmm.
career. And that started what year?
Okay, so to back up, I've wanted to be a hairstylist, or I was interested really in cosmetology since I was in high school.
Okay.
And we had, like in high school
Mm-hmm.
where like they have the program or whatever. It's something that I wanted to do because I wanted to see if it was something that I was actually interested in, but they wouldn't let me because I cheered and I was college bound. And so they wouldn't let me. And that was super...
I didn't know they rejected people. So it was a specific program.
Yes.
Honestly, I didn't know that. I thought people could just choose it if they wanted to.
No.
Okay.
No, it was... because you could get your like certification through it.
Wow.
Yes.
Something I didn't know.
Yes. So that was, I guess, put on hold, and I went to college because I thought that was kind of my only option. I didn't realize like
What you were supposed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Here's your path. Take it. Like it. P.S. I didn't.
Don't we all? Everyone's heard me on this podcast say, should I have been in healthcare?
Yeah.
Is it 11 years too long? We don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. You find out eventually. So fast forward, I got married and I started working in a salon at the front desk because I thought, okay, here's a chance. Here's an opportunity. I can get in a salon. I can see if I like it. Working the front desk of a salon is not the same thing as working as a stylist. It was a really large salon and it was really intimidating, and answering the phone is not my forte.
Especially when people are mad about their hair.
Exactly. That was not my area. So then I was like, you know what? I don't think this is for me. So then I got into photography. It was something I dabbled in high school, just being creative. It was an outlet, and I started sharing my stuff online, and then people started contacting me, and that's really other people almost pushed me into the business.
I was going to say, your photography is so beautiful.
Thank you.
It's so beautiful.
Thank you.
I think that's when I finally... Sorry to interrupt you, but I
Yeah.
think that's when I finally started following you on Instagram again, because I was like, what are these pictures? Because, like back in the day on Instagram, not to age ourselves, but you had the Explorer page, like, and then it popped up when I was like, that is so pretty. And I was like, wait a minute, I know her. And I was like, wait a minute.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Thank you. It's been a minute since I've done anything. So I got into photography, turned it into a business. I had a business partner, and loved it. We did mostly weddings. My business partner really liked doing babies, and that was not my area. I didn't have the patience for it. Like,
girl, neither do I.
Yeah. But she was wonderful with it. And so after a few years, I decided to step out of it, and it's still going strong. So if you want to go check out Sweet Roots, they're still
That's
going.
what it was?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
It is pretty big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So they're still doing really awesome, and I'm really proud of them. But like weddings got to be too much for me. It was, I didn't want to spend the weekends away from my family.
Yeah.
And that's really what it turned into. And so I stepped away, and then I did the stay-at-home mom thing for a bit, and I love my kids. But
you can't be around them 24/7.
I can't. I'm not built that way.
Well, I don't think anyone is. I truly don't. Like, I know people say that they love, I truly don't, because why else would they go out and have girls' nights? And if you love your kid, like, you have to be like, that's with any, like, I have best friends and I don't live with them. And sometimes if we're texting or constantly together, I'm like, I'm tired of you. Like, get away from me. Yes. My dog is the same way. I'm like, get off of me.
Yes. I think some people get fulfillment from their kids and being able to have the structure and doing the activities and stuff, which is amazing.
Yeah.
I hoped I was that way, but turns out I'm not. I need that creative outlet in order to fulfill me so that then I can go home and then give my kids what they need from me, which took a little while and a lot of like guilt and shame to work through, but like I know that that's what I need now. So I met a lot of friends through photography. A lot of my friends are photographers, and so I would either second shoot with them or like we would do a friend's maternity, and back up to Sweet Roots, we would do like when we would do boudoir sessions, like we would do the hair and makeup, and I loved that part of it.
Okay.
I really, really enjoyed that part of it because you're making someone feel good about themselves.
They just transform in front of you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at home one day with my kids, and I'm like, okay, I need to find something that I can do that isn't photography, because I felt so burnt out on it. But like, that's a world that I'm so immersed in. I know all my friends are in it. Like, what is something that I can do? And I started thinking about like, okay, what if I went to cosmetology school and then I could start doing hair and makeup for sessions?
Oh, perfect.
Right. So that's how it started.
Okay.
It never went that way.
When life throws you curveballs.
But that's how it started. So I went to cosmetology school at the age of 30, and I had just had a baby that was 6 months old, which was a lot.
It's a whole story in itself.
Exactly. My son, I think, was like 5. My daughter was 6 months old. And so I went to cosmetology school, and I was there for a year. And that was, I would say, one of like the best and worst experiences of my life.
Okay.
I met some incredible people, and going through cosmetology school as a 30-year-old mom with like 18 to 20-year-olds I learned a lot.
I would say very eye-opening, I would assume, because I know being 33 now, like being around 18 years old, I'm like, ugh.
It's a whole different world. Like, they taught me about Snapchat and still couldn't use it correctly, but that's okay.
I still don't know how to use TikTok. It's fine. My friends make fun of me. I'm like, TikTok what? Okay.
Yeah, I'll watch it, but I can't use it.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay.
So I graduated there, and then I went and worked in a salon downtown, and I was an associate under 2 stylists for 8 or 9 months, and they worked their asses off. Like, those girls work hard, but it was definitely an environment I don't think that like I thrive in.
Okay.
They work long hours, but they want to. Like, that was one thing that I saw and learned that they're not afraid of hard work, and like they support themselves, and they're a bunch of like really strong women. And that was really good for me to see, because that isn't always the case.
Yeah.
So,
but you went from one career where you said, you know, you want to spend more time with your kids, but still have a creative outlet. But then you went into this other career where it is very demanding, and people don't realize how much work you're putting into being a hairstylist, because it kind of looks like a glamorous life, if you will.
Oh my gosh, I know.
It's like, oh, you make your own hours, you make good money. But I know like Kelly, and I don't know if Kelly listens to my podcast, but in Winchester, she has built a brand, but she literally was at a salon from like 9 a.m. till 9 p.m, 7 days a week.
Yes.
To build that to where she is now. And that took years. And we don't see that side of it.
No. And it's so physically demanding.
Yeah.
When we were in school, we weren't allowed, like when you're on the floor, you're not allowed to sit down.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And when I first started working in the salon after the school, like one of the first things you do is you learn how to wash hair. When I say my feet and my back have never hurt this bad, it's so true. And it's something that I think you learn to have an appreciation for if you go through it, because it's so physically
even demanding. As a nurse, like we at least sit down to chart.
Yeah.
Like even though we're up for 12 hours, you have sit down moments. Y'all don't.
No.
Like you're up on a concrete floor for anywhere from 8 to 12 hours.
Yeah. And you're supposed to look cute while doing it.
And see, we're in scrubs, which is basically pajamas.
You're not allowed to wear tennis shoes. You're not like, you have to look cute while doing it. So you have blisters on your toes. I can remember going into the break room and my arm started going numb
from holding it,
from blow drying. So much and stuff. And you build those muscles up over time, but at first it's like your body's trying to get used to it.
Very demanding.
Yes.
It's kind of like when you start a new workout. It's just like when you wake up the next day, you're just like, I think I'm in rhabdo. If y'all don't know what rhabdo is, it's basically your body's eating your muscle.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I'm going to die.
And you find muscles that you didn't know you had.
I mean, I can't even round brush, blow dry my own hair. I can't imagine doing it to 25 girls that come in and saying, can you blow out my hair?
Yeah. And that they have all the hairs, like all. Yes. So, okay. So I worked there, and then I decided it wasn't feeling right. Okay. Working in that type of salon, that environment, it just didn't feel right. And I've learned the hard way, I have to listen to myself. If something doesn't feel right, I have to like step back. But one of the hardest things is you know, I just spent this money to go to school, and I spent almost 2 years doing this, and now I'm stepping back. And I even had some people come out to me and say, oh, what are you doing now?
Really?
I can't keep up with you. And I was just like, oh shit.
That is rude AF, first of all. So whoever said that to you, fuck them.
I appreciate
Big fuck y'all. This is me shooting his bird. You can't see it. But like that's just rude.
Yeah.
Like, number one, did they spend the money to send you to school? No. Did they take the time to do it? No. So what does it matter to them?
Yeah. And it took a lot of work for me to kind of get like past that and realize like, okay, you have your thoughts and that's fine, but like at least I'm going after it. At least I'm trying.
That, and you're making yourself happy.
Yes.
Like you're not just fitting a mold and doing what people expect of you. Or like you said, when you went to college, and you probably wasted a lot of money going to college because that's not what you wanted to do. Yeah. You were just following a career path that you thought you had to do.
Yeah. So, I took a step back, and it worked out well, because it was like 6 months, 8 months before COVID. Mm-hmm. So it worked out well, because then I could be home with my kids and stuff like that, and I didn't have to stress. But in that time, I learned about life coaching, and I've always known about life coaching, but I think I had the stereotypical idea of what life coaching was, you know.
Like what most people do.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're just there to hype me up. You're a hype man. That's what I feel like that's a stereotypical life coach. It's like, you're not really going to give me advice. You're just going to hype me up and tell me I'm doing a good job.
Yeah. I think to me, it felt icky. It's
Okay.
like that terminology feels icky to me. But my husband had read a book by John Kim, and it's called, let's see, what is it called? I Used to Be a Miserable Fuck.
Ooh, I need to read that.
Yeah. It's based towards men, but it's great.
Okay.
And they're short little, I think he blogs, and what he did is he took like his,
Stories.
Thank you. And can like put them in a book.
Like kind of like an expert of stories, and just made it a book. So it's not like just a straight read through. It's more of like
Exactly.
stories
each,
from
each chapter is its own little
gotcha
thing.
That makes sense.
And so it talked, he talked some about like life coaching and stuff, and that he started this program with a lady named Noelle Cordo, and it's for people wanting to get into life coaching. Okay, so John Kim got together with this lady named Noelle Cordo, and they were previously therapists, licensed therapists, but they weren't like super, I think, happy with how it's very...
so they weren't happy with like traditional therapy, like how you sit,
you're
talk.
held back.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And so they started learning about life coaching and what life coaching really is. And the best way for me to explain it is, so when you want to hire a trainer is there to give you workouts.
Mm-hmm.
That trainer isn't going to go, yes, you need to work out, go to the gym.
Yeah.
That's not what a trainer does. A trainer is going to be there with you.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to have workouts for you. They're going to show you. They're going to walk it with you and be there with you like the whole time.
This just happened to come into my mind.
Okay.
So I went to a therapist, and I talked about this on the podcast, and I loved her as a person.
Yes.
But I felt like I was paying someone just to listen. My aunt does that for me. My aunt listens to me and actually gives me worksheets to work on myself. Is that more of what a life coach is? Because I was getting angry at her. I was like, all you're doing is agreeing with me, and I don't need that. I need someone to tell me, number one, I'm wrong, because I'm a very strong opinionated person. I need someone to say, well, maybe you should think about it like this. So that's more of a life coach.
Yes. Okay.
This makes sense now. So now it makes sense why I was mad at my therapist.
Okay. But you're not the only one. I think a lot of people have this feeling, and a therapist.
Again, I thought it was a hype person. I thought you were supposed to tell me that everything I did was great.
Nope. No, a life coach is actually going to sit there and hold you accountable.
Oh my God. Yeah. I need to hire you.
Yes.
Yep.
So
I found this is why I love this podcast. Cause it's like, oh my God, this all makes sense to me now. So I hope someone listening is the same as me. It's like, oh
yes. Well, and I think a lot of people are afraid to say like, I tried therapy and I didn't like it.
yeah.
Right.
Like,
because they don't know why they didn't like it.
Well, I knew that I didn't like it because I felt like every time I would go in, I was just talking, and then she would go, right. And then never say anything. More. And I was like, okay, but this isn't helping. Like, I'm angry and I need you to.
And let me tell you, there is absolutely a place for therapists, because some people can go and they can unleash and
then they're fine.
And they're good.
Yeah.
They're good. I remember when I went to therapy for the first time, it was, I think Kaiser was 2 or 3. And I left the first session feeling so overwhelmed because I had all this stuff that from my past I'd never talked about, and I opened up, and then she, lovely lady, absolutely love her, but she was like, okay, your time's up.
Yeah.
I'll see you next week. And I remember being like,
no,
wait, what do you mean? Like, there's no plan? Like, what am I supposed to do from here? Like, give
I need
me
homework.
some direction.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, tell me how I can change. Like when you know, like, I feel like everyone gets in a point in their life where they're like, I know that I need to change, and it's not for anyone else but for me, because what I'm doing isn't working, and it's no longer working for me. And that's where I was in my life when I saw my therapist. And there was no like, well, if you want to change, here's the direction. I was kind of left out in this la-la land of, you're just agreeing with me. And I love you as a person, and it felt great to unleash. But why am I paying you weekly to unleash when my aunt listens to me for free?
Exactly.
You know, I have friends to listen to me for free. If I just want to vent, I have multiple people I can call to and vent with them saying nothing back to me, just like you're doing.
Yeah. So when I learned more about like what life coaching really was, I was like, this is what I've been looking for my entire life.
Oh my gosh. I
Like-
think I have been looking for it too.
Like,
Like after sitting here talking about, I'm like, oh my God, this
Yes.
is what my aunt's going to be so happy when we talk on the phone later today. I'm gonna be like, look, I found my person.
yeah, you can go now. No. So
She'll be like, thank God. Because she tells me all the time she's going to bill me.
she may one day. So John Kim and Noelle Cordeaux created this program called Journey, JRNI. And it's a program you can go through to become a certified life coach.
Okay.
And we did everything over Zoom, and which is actually how they did it before COVID, because there were people in Canada.
I was going to say you could work
all
whoever.
over. And shout out to all my Journey peeps. I love y'all and miss y'all. But so it was a 6-month process, and we met every Sunday for a few hours over Zoom. But everything they teach you to do in sessions, we had to do ourselves.
Okay.
So not only was it a way for us to become like certified, it was like being your own life coach.
Oh, wow.
And it was wonderful because I got 6 months of like working on myself, and it was transformational, to say the absolute least. And I think that's why I have such a like love and passion for this, is because I've experienced it. I've gone through it. And I started like slowly with my friends, and they would come over, and it was awesome to kind of see that little like light bulb go off and be like, oh my God, like you get what I'm talking about.
Well, not only that, you are literally changing someone's life. I mean, for the better.
Yeah.
Like that is very rewarding
Yeah.
in itself. It's just like, not that saying you, like, obviously people have to put in the work, but you can be like, let's pretend I become some kind of millionaire podcast. Not going to happen. Let's just pretend. And you're my life coach. Then it's like, you kind of have that like, oh my God, I pushed her to do that. Like, and we worked on that together and we grew. I feel like that would be very rewarding.
It is. And it's I think the biggest changes are the smallest things.
Yeah.
Absolutely the smallest things. And it's getting someone to see something just from like a different perspective. Like imagine like I'm looking straight ahead, and this is my point of view, and it's the only point of view I've ever known. But then someone just made me take a step to the right, and I see it from a completely different angle, and it makes so much more sense now. And that's exactly what it is.
And I feel like, though, do you feel like with the people that you've worked with, obviously people have to be open to, because if you're closed off, that's very hard to get through to someone to see a different perspective, because I was that way for a very, very long time. And then I do pride myself on like, obviously like when I'm in the moment, like I'm closed off and I'm like, no, this is how it is. But then give me a couple of days and then I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. And I was kind of a dick.
I think, okay, so this is where finding someone that you, I think, vibe with really comes into play, because you have to be able to trust the person you're with. And this is something that they teach you in the program, is you can have a consultation with someone.
That's what I was going to say. Do you do consultations like to see if you're even
Absolutely.
Like, so like, let's pretend we're consulting and like you're like, we're not vibing this. Would you say, well, I don't think we're a good fit, but here's someone I think you would be good for or with?
I would absolutely say, I know I could help you, but I also know someone that has gone through this or does this specifically that could get you further.
Gotcha.
And I think that you would really, really click with.
That's awesome.
Yes. And that's wonderful, because within our group, we can go in there and say, does anyone specifically work with XYZ?
Yeah.
And it's wonderful. It's a beautiful community. Everyone is so open and loving and supportive. And
so how does it work? So like you do the initial consult and you said it's through Zoom. So if I want to become your client, is there like a monthly subscription I can do? Is it like, do we only meet via Zoom? Do we text? Like what kind of entails with the life coaching?
So I can do in person if you're local.
Okay.
But you can do one-on-ones, you can do single sessions, or we can do a package, which helps. And I will go ahead and say a package is always better, because
I was going to say, you can't fix yourself in one treatment. Like you can't.
Yeah. No. Well, and it's also like, you're like, oh my God, this was so good. Now we need to do more. We need to do more. And just having that other person that is there with you to hold you accountable and to like walk with you through it.
Okay.
That's, I think a lot of people feel like they have to go through all this stuff alone. And it's really like a life coach is there kind of like holding your hand.
Which makes sense because I mean, in theory, like I have a personal trainer and I have a nutrition coach. So I mean, like I'm a nutrition coach myself, but I can't coach me nutritionally when my weight is my emotional factor. So if I'm paying someone to walk with me through my nutrition journey, why would I not pay someone to walk with me through my emotional journey as well, or my growth or whatever it may be? Like I completely get that.
Everything starts from the emotional self too.
Yeah.
Everything.
I mean, it does. I mean, you find out why you do things, right? Like, why am I binging on this chocolate cake when I feel bad?
Yeah.
Like, what in me is making me do that?
Yes.
Because it's a trigger.
Yeah. I had one client, and the topic for one session was food. And then we went back into, her past and her childhood. And I think that's what a lot of people don't understand too, is life coach isn't just that like, okay, do this exercise and you're going to be great. No. Like I like to dive into your past and your childhood and be there with you and talk to your inner kiddo, right? Because that's where we hold most of our pain.
Yeah.
But I was able to walk with her and I started asking her questions, and she told me this story of when she was a kid and she had this experience, and then she turned to food. And it's so funny because it was so plain to me, but she couldn't see it. And I just remember being like, oh, do you see it now? And she was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just that like that different perspective.
Yeah.
That someone can be there.
In a way, like I'm not saying you're not emotionally invested in your clients, but in a way, like just kind of like with me being a nutrition coach, I'm emotionally invested. When I get on the scale, I'm emotionally invested. I know that I shouldn't decrease my carbs or whatever it is when I'm working with a client because I'm not emotionally invested in their weight, right? Like it doesn't matter to me if you lose or gain weight, right?
Right.
It matters to you as the client, but I know what I'm doing and I know how to get you to your goals. But when it comes to me, I'm emotionally invested. So if I gain weight, I'm like, let me pull back. Same with you, with your clients. Like if you're working with a client that's like, I don't see it. And you're like, well, I'm not really emotionally invested. This could go one way or the other. I mean, I'm not saying you don't care because you do. But in a sense, you can see what they can't because they are so emotionally involved in it. They can't pull themselves away from that perspective.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of the same.
Yeah, you can't see it from like the bird's eye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which makes sense.
Yes.
I think everyone needs a life coach, and I wish insurance paid.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, do you know what? Can you imagine what this world would even be like if everyone worked with either a therapist or a life coach?
It would be wonderful.
I'm just like, but it's also going to be hard. Like, I'm sure you help people through their darkest times, like children who have been abused or, divorces or leaving a job that they've been invested in for years because they felt like they weren't treated right or they're estranged from their family. Like that. How do you deal with your side of emotion to take care of yourself, to not be so invested in that?
It can become a lot.
Yeah.
If you're not careful, it can, one of the things is you have to limit your clients, because we only have so much emotional support at any one time that we can give. And so you have to be really careful not to exceed that because you want to be there for each client, but you also want to be there for yourself and your family. So finding that balance, and luckily this is something that energizes me, is being able to connect with people and to talk to them. I will say, like, I have to take a step back sometimes just to have a moment for myself to digest and really say, like, okay, this isn't my journey. I'm just helping someone else along theirs. Yeah. And that helps, I would say.
Well, yeah, because if you're not emotionally taking care of yourself, then you obviously can't emotionally be there for someone else.
Yes.
So, I mean, I think that's a life lesson with anyone when they try to help. Like, kind of like we as friends try to help our friends, but we're kind of emotionally involved in what goes on with our friends. So, like, if your friend's going through a divorce and you're friends with both the husband and the wife, like,
you too.
It's like, well, now who do I hang out with? Like, now okay, this is weird. So that's when I feel like it would be better for them to reach out to someone who's not emotionally involved in the relationship, or, you know, because then you have this perspective of like, I'm just a third party. I don't have a view one way or the other. I don't know your husband. I don't know you.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, and with friends, you can't always be 100% honest.
Because you don't know if they're going to get mad or not. Yeah.
I've, with the program that I went through, we had to coach each other within our group. There was about 30 of us in our group, and we had to coach one another. And it was wonderful to be able to show up to these sessions and be like, you don't know me, so I can be 100% myself right now. Like, I'm about to show you, I'm going to pull the curtain back.
Side note on that. So obviously I know that people come. So when I first started going to therapy, I was afraid to open up. Do you have clients that are like afraid? Do you have to dig? Like, how do you open them up if they're scared?
So everyone's afraid of being judged in some fashion. Like, and I think that's just human nature. That's our culture, our society, is we are so afraid of not being liked or whatever. And I think that's where people who are made for coaching, in the coaching world, it's we say we're able to hold space for someone, and we're able to do it without judgment.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things within my, like, if you're really close to me, you know, some of the things that I've gone through that have put me in a position to be able to be there for other people. And when I say I don't judge, I do not judge, because I've been in some places. Like, I've gone through some things. I know what it feels like to be judged, and I would never want anyone to feel that way ever.
Well, I mean, and I think that's wonderful, because I feel like this world we grow up in, this Instagram world where everyone thinks they can do everything. Like, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a life coach tomorrow because I like giving advice to my friends. Yeah. Well, it's not that. It's a little bit more. It's a little
bit more involved.
I mean, that's just like me being a nutrition coach, because I've loved nutrition for as long as I can remember. There are people that I'm friends with, when I try to help them, are like, well, I can do that, and I'm going to do that. And I'm like, okay. Well, go ahead. Go be a nutrition
try
coach.
it.
Yeah. It's not as easy as you think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, and you're still going to mess up, and you have to be okay with that. And I mean, I like, it goes back to trusting and trusting who you're working with.
Yes.
And literally giving yourself over to that person, saying, okay, I'm trusting you with this story. I'm trusting you with these feelings and emotions, you know, and then you just have to prove it from there. And if you fuck me over, you fuck me over, and I'll learn. Right.
Well, and I think that's the great thing about the program that I went through with Journey, is you walk away with so many tools to help people. So it's not even, part of it is sitting down and having a conversation and getting to know someone, but I'm able to give you things to do in order to help you grow and learn. And one thing that I've learned with some of my clients is they're so afraid of disappointing me. And so that's where I come and I'm like, listen, I'm here to meet you exactly where you are. You cannot disappoint me. 100%. Like, I'm here to be with this version of you right now. And we're going to talk about the version that you want to be, where you want to be. And if we don't get there right away, that's okay. That's 100% okay. You cannot, if I tell you go do something and you don't do it, I'm not going to be disappointed in you. Yeah. You know, we're going to talk about why you didn't do it. Yeah. Because that's probably one of the bigger issues. Yeah. Right? That keeps you from doing other things in your life, but you can't disappoint me.
And I think that's beautiful. I think that, and I relate to everything. When I ever have conversations, like, I can only relate it to what I know, right? So that's why I keep like comparing it to the nutrition coaching world. Because I have a nutrition coach right now. And like, if I don't, like, we do weekly check-ins, and if I went out and ate or something, like, I do the same thing. I'm like, I'm going to disappoint her. Yeah. Like, she's going to be disappointed in me.
And then you're not going to be completely honest.
Yeah. Because it's like, I don't want to tell her I ate out because she's going to be upset. And like, she's told me the same thing you just said. Like, you are paying me to hold you accountable.
Yes.
I'm not, like, whether you gain or lose weight, it has nothing to do with me.
Yeah.
I'm just holding you accountable.
Yeah.
And so you can't disappoint me. You're disappointing yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's a bigger thing. It's like, really, I'm truly disappointed in myself because, you know.
Well, and that's where the work is.
Mm-hmm.
Right there.
Right there.
Right?
It's like, why am I upset that I went out to eat with my friends?
Exactly.
Because it's like, well, I'm spending this money on this nutrition coach that I paid for to hold me accountable, and I didn't do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I didn't do it.
But that's okay. Yeah. That's okay because that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, so one of, I think, life lessons is you will never fully learn something until you go through it the hard way.
Exactly.
And the older I get, the more I'm grateful for like all the obstacles and all the shit that's like, because that's what makes you grow.
Yeah.
Like you are forced to get through it.
Agreed. And like people know my story. I've kind of slowly opened up through this podcast, and everyone asks me, because, you know, I've talked about how like I was in love with someone for several years, and everyone's like, do you regret that? Like, you're single now and you're 30, like, do you regret wasting that time? And I'm like, no, because I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't know what I want now. And I went through that for a reason. Like, did it suck that I wasted some time? Sure. But I wouldn't be who I am. Exactly. I wouldn't be where I was.
Exactly. And it's like those little things that make you appreciate the smallest things.
Exactly.
And that's really, to me, what life is about, is being absolutely 100% content with what you have. Right? Doesn't keep you from like wanting more, but being absolutely happy and fulfilled within a moment.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
And so to tie that together, like, so we talked about you being a hairstylist currently. And are you open yet?
So I'm not officially open. I've been friends of mine that have been like, hey, I know you're doing this. Yeah. I need a haircut. Can I please get in? They've been coming in, but I'm in the process of opening a one-chair salon, and I'm just about there. Just a few little details, and that as a perfectionist, it's really hard to be like, okay, it's not 100% done and open anyway. But the space that I found is wonderful, because when I started talking to my husband about it, I was like, I really wish I could find a place that had an office. Okay. Because if it has an office in it, then I can still coach from there. And there was one space available. And
perfect timing.
Exactly. It had an office in it. And so I'm able to do hair, but also I can still coach out of there.
And I know I said this earlier, but I want to say it on the podcast. Like, I feel like that's perfect, because how many times do we go to our hairstylist and unload on them?
Yes.
Like, they're like, how's your day? And I'm like, oh my God, let me just tell you what's going on. Like, how is that not perfect?
Okay. But do you kind of want to know some of the science behind that?
Yes.
Okay. So when someone plays with your hair, it feels good, right?
Yeah.
And you feel relaxed.
And you're trusting.
Yes. Yes.
You trust. Well, if you're trusting someone with your hair, first of all.
Yes.
Then you trust them with your, like, I feel like my hairstylist knows everything about me.
But that's okay, because for me, when I worked in the salon, we talked about this, that was probably my favorite aspect about it, was getting to know clients and having those conversations and having that connection. The hair aspect is the creative part for me. That's the physical, what I can see creatively, but the getting to connect with someone is like what feeds my soul. It makes me happy.
That's so awesome. So if someone wants to become your client, either for you to be a stylist versus a life coach, where can they find you? Is it all in the same place for the same thing? Or
the best way to get a hold of me is on Instagram, and I'm on there. I'm with Rhyme and Reason. You can just message me on there. We can start a conversation and start from there.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I will tag these in the show notes so that everyone can just click on it and go from there. But Lauren, thank you so much. And we will have to do this again and continue the conversation.
This was so much fun.
Well, just like I talked about, like, I always try to, like, so when my people come over to podcast, we talk, and plus me and Lauren hadn't seen each other in a while, but we were just talking, like, I feel like people just need to be open and honest anyways, and to have these conversations and put them out there where it's kind of uncomfortable and you don't really want to talk about it, I think is beautiful. And I really want to do that. So we're going to have to, like, do some kind of collaboration.
If you want uncomfortable, I can bring it.
Trust me, we can. But guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. And until next time, bye.